Hi, Carolyn Berghuis here, developer of the Live Method. I'm really glad you're here today. So we're going to talk about emotions and disease and how they contribute to either disease or a feeling of well-being and health and happiness. So there's some exciting things happening on the scientific frontier nowadays. We are seeing more scientific studies that are looking at this intimate connection between our emotions and disease. And we're also seeing further beyond that, we're seeing studies that are showing the direct link of what our ancestors before us experienced as far as traumas and how that changed their biochemistry, that changed their DNA, and how that's passed down to subsequent generations. So it's exciting that we're seeing this work because those of us in this field, we have known for a long time that the traumas experienced in our ancestral line are passed down, and whether it's anger or alcoholism or other addictions or poverty, we tend to experience some of the same fears and the same patterns. Now, I'm going to share with you just a couple of studies. Now, the HeartMath Institute, they're out in California, and they've been around for a long time, and they do a lot of studies looking at the heart and the heart energy. Some of what they have found is, as they're measuring the heart energy in comparison to the brain energy, and what they use is EKGs and ECGs, like this common technology that we're aware of today. So what they see is that the energy that's emitted from the heart is significantly higher than the energy emitted from the brain. Now, how many of us in modern man today, we walk around and we're in our heads, we have to, we're thinking, and we have to see the proof, we have to see the science, and we have to have logic and reason. And I can appreciate that, being a former mathematician, I can appreciate that. However, it's important that we drop down into our heart and we start to feel, and we can deal with the feelings in an effective way so that we can facilitate greater healing in our life and in our bodies. There was another study done, and this was at Mount Sinai's Traumatic Stress Division, and they had a group of 32 survivors of the Holocaust, of Auschwitz. And what they found with these 32, there were 64 survivors, 32 couples. What they found with these 64 individuals who suffered the extreme stress, the extreme pain of the Holocaust, they found that while their DNA didn't change, there's a marker attached to their DNA that came in that is representative of post-traumatic stress syndrome. So that's kind of not a big surprise. We would expect that with individuals experiencing that much trauma, that we would see some biochemical change. However, their children who were not exposed to those traumas had the same marker in their DNA. So we are seeing now in science what we've known for a long time, and that's that traumas are passed down and it affects us biochemically. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about our autonomic nervous system, our central nervous system. So we're going to start off with peptides, our neuropeptides. Neuropeptides are chemical messengers in the body. And what they do, when they are released, they'll team up with your serotonin, your GABA, your dopamine, and then other biochemicals in the body that will that all play a part in how we feel. So when the neuropeptides are released during a period of, let's say, anger or stress, what we see is they lock into a very specific pattern and configuration into the cells that make up our organs. And the more we experience that particular trauma or those good feelings, but the more we experience that particular trauma, that configuration gets set deeper in the body, kind of like deep grooves in a record. And we know in psychology that about 95% of our behavior comes from our subconscious. So if we're constantly dealing with anger or rage or fear or worry, then our subconscious is programmed that way, and that's how we are going to see the world. So now we're going to look at, we have parasympathetic and sympathetic. These are two components of our nervous system. Now, the parasympathetic is engaged when we are, during prayer, during meditation, during relaxation, when the body is at peace and it's calm. And at that point, when the parasympathetic system is engaged, our body can regenerate and heal itself because it's sending its energy inwardly, more to the internal organs, to digestion and to repair and rejuvenation of the body. Now, when we are in sympathetic mode, this is fight or flight. This is when we got the pedal to the metal, and nowadays we feel guilty if we ever let it up, right? You've got to keep going, go, 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 drive, drive, drive. So in sympathetic mode, our energy is going to the heart to make it pump harder, to the circulatory system, to our limbs, because we're in a state of either fight or flight, and the body has to be prepared to defend itself. So what happens then is the body can't send energy inward for healing or rejuvenation. So if we're constantly stuck in fight or flight, the body is really challenged at finding any place of good repair. So it's important to incorporate, daily activities where you can, enjoy yourself, whether that's reading or one of the things I do on a very, very regular basis. I go to chapel in the morning, and then I'll go to daily mass. And I start my day off like that so I can get in the right, mindset, so I can experience that peace and calm. So then from there, I go forth into the world and do whatever it is I'm going to do on that particular day. So I really invite you to look inward and find, where can you find a peace and calm? Because when you're doing that, that's when your body's going to rejuvenate, and that's when it's going to heal itself. So I'm going to reference 1 John 4:4. This is one of my favorite scriptures here. And I'm going to paraphrase. It's the one who is within. It's Christ. The one who is within has greater power than he who is in the world. So if he who is in the world created the trauma, the pain that has been passed down through our ancestral line, if he who is in the world is causing the pain in your life today, remember that he who is within has greater power. And this is where I'm talking about we can start something new. We can change the direction that we're heading and start really a new mankind where we pass light down to our children. We pass love down to our children, and we turn that around. And that's more in some of my other videos where I go into some of the workings of that. Today we're going to focus on the emotions and what they, the impact they have. But what I want you to realize is that we can turn this around, and we can start a new world. And we can begin with things like this, with understanding how emotions affect our body. Now, anger versus worry. I'm going to share with you just a little bit here. Anger is, while women experience anger too, we tend to have more of a slower switch. It takes a while, we'll accumulate, and eventually, we kind of blow, we'll blow. So with a man though, when he experiences anger, he'll go from 0 to 60 in a nanosecond. And then he'll come down very quickly too. So let's look at the family and the man's primary role. Now just bear with me. This may not be politically correct, but bear with me. The man's primary role is the protector, provider. And when he can't protect and provide that creates a deep, deep wound within him. So if the family is under assault, would it serve the family for his anger switch to kind of be on a dimmer switch? No. He has to go to anger really quick. However, when anger is out of balance, that's when we have problems. Now, worry, let's think for a moment the woman's primary role in the family. She is the comforter, the nurturer of the family. So would it serve the children if she went to anger quickly like the man? Of course not, but she has to have a little worry. She has to be aware of what's going on and what the children are perhaps getting into so that she can address things without scaring them. Now, I'm going to go to guilt and shame here because this is a biggie. A lot of people carry around guilt. Now, guilt is, I did something wrong, I acknowledge it, but you don't necessarily own it. You just know, that wasn't so cool, I did that. Shame, however, is much deeper and it's harder to turn around. Shame is when you actually believe you are wrong. And quite often shame starts early in childhood, and quite often it's passed down through the generations. So with the shame, the individual identifies with their wrongness, and they carry a false belief that tells them that they're bad, or they're not worthy of love, they're not good enough, they're not smart enough, whatever it is that their, the tapes are, those deep grooves that have been playing over and over. Shame is playing into that. It's holding them back from fully living because it is not true. So I'm going to share with you a quick little meditation that you can do when you catch yourself in, anger or rage or shame and you're feeling bad. First, I want you to realize that when you're feeling bad, you're not in a space of truth. Because he who dwelleth within has greater power than he who dwelleth in the world. And he who dwelleth within came so that you may have joy, that we may have joy, and so that our joy may be complete in him. So God desires for us to have joy. And so when you're in that funk, you're in that place that you don't feel good, you can say 3 words, and I've got it written down here. It's I am love. Because what's happening when we're saying I am love, we're telling our body the truth. Because remember whose image we are created in. We're created in the image of God, who is love. And so we're telling ourselves the truth. I am love. Because we've forgotten. We think we're shame. We think we're anger. We think we're whatever, fear. So we're reprogramming in a healthy way the truth. So you don't even have to do any breath work. I have some other quick meditations that you can do breath work with. But this one, I like to call it, get me off the monkey bars. Because I'm about to lose it. I need to break free. So it's just, I am love. We're going to do it a couple more times. I am love. I am love. So let's also remember, who is I am? Of course, it's God. He who is love. So you're invoking his name twice. You're invoking the truth twice to turn around these emotions that are causing disease in your body, that are causing you unhappiness. So I invite you to join me. I've got my retreats, and you can find information there at thelivemethod.com. I invite you to join me in this, this new beginning for this new man, and so we can really, I believe, we can change the world. Starting with one family at a time, starting with one person at a time, and that's you. Changing the world so that our children and our grandchildren don't have to carry down this pain that we brought down. I say it's time. Let's draw the line. Let's claim our true inheritance, the true inheritance that God has for us. So my friends, live healthy, live happy, live holy, and live.